So I felt like maybe Snapfire would have been a stronger pick, but the Mirana still makes sense. It's a double stun lane with Mars. You've got Arrow set up from the Bane, the classic combinations there. And you can kind of be aggressive. In the Undying lane with, with Mars and Mirana, you can just focus up the range creep, kind of play like that, look for spear openings from the Mars, follow up with the Arrow, be aggressive that way. So it does give them some presence here on Talon, and it does give them some rotation potential as well for High to go on to mid. They even pick up that puck now for Mikoto. So they've got the Dreamcoil Arena combination at least, which can be strong, or just Dreamcoil Spear back. Like, there's a lot of ways to kind of break that coil here and kind of take these team fights. Compare that to Lilgun's draft mic. There's not much team fight here for Lilgun in terms of AoE control. They've got the charge in, they've got the Nether Strike, maybe the Inkswell charge is really it. Tombstone can kind of deny an area somewhat, but you've got enough ranged heroes on Talon that shouldn't be a major issue. So I think Talon has enough to manage what team fight Lilgun does have. They do pick up the Void Spirit for the mid matchup. So we've got Puck Void Spirit, which it feels like it's been a few months since we've seen that matchup. It's been a while. It is something both sides can play. I think the Void Spirit does generally seem to work that lane slightly better, just because his spells are slightly lower cooldown. He's got slightly better base stats as a melee hero to harass back, and he can be a little bit more mobile as well compared to the Orb. Like, you can kind of dissimulate around for the runes early on if you want that as well. So a little bit of a back and forth. It's not the most secure Void Spirit game, as there is a Bane to at least set up for Nightmare. So you have at least one piece of lockdown from Talon with a Bane and the Grip as well. Kind of catch him out. Not the best choices for Lilgun to break that off as well, particularly the Grip. Like, there's a lot of pressure on 11 Spirit Breaker to always see where Fly's at, so he can kind of stop that spell from coming true, or the Grimstroke getting that Phantom Embrace off.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, it's a very interesting draft so far from Lilgun. I do wonder how they try to close things off, as we are going to have to wait out these final ban-outs before we can see the final picks. Both teams currently lacking a position 1. We do see the Void being banned, the Wraith King being removed as well. I mean, you've got options like the Deucer still available for either side. Obviously, Gabby's PA being respect banned after the last series we saw Gabby playing PA on. Well, obviously, a very scary Phantom Assassin player. You'd rather not give the man that hero. I wonder if they bother respect banning out something like the Deucer here, John, because it does feel like it could fit in both drafts.
Yeah, I think it'd fit Talon a little bit better, because they've got the Dreamcoil and Arena to play around the Stone Gaze. They've got the better AoE control to really use that Deucer to its max potential. For Lilgun, when you've got a Spirit Breaker and a Void Spirit, you can sort of play 4 Protect 1. I think it still fits the lineup a little bit more if you've got a core that can join in early to really get that early push, get that early fight going, because towards the late game, your control is just sort of lacking. The Spirit Breaker can go Ags and Ag Shard, so you do have some ways of getting up there, and the Void Spirit Ags is going to be nice as well, but that tends to coincide with BKBs. So I think something that uses that early timing might be a bit stronger. Lifestealer would have been perfect. You've got Infest targets and Spirit Breaker and Void, but Talon did ban it out just to ensure the Mars KP wouldn't have to worry all too much about a Lifestealer just raging out of Arena. So we'll see. I think if they do want to play slower, and maybe if they're expecting Dusa, an illusion here won't be too bad. You do have some clear from Talon, but say the Dusa comes out for Talon here, you can kind of go for a PL if that's what you want in Lilgun.
Let's see if they do it. The first pick is going to be for Talon, though. Again, if they want to go for something like the Dusa, it is still there. It has been quite popular as of late, at least in SCA, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see it. I'm trying to think of other cores that Gabby might want to run here. I mean, you kind of brought up the PL as well, which could definitely be an option. They'll go for the TB route. Of course, how could we forget TB was still available? And a Naga Siren comes out for Lilgun. That should be a POS 1 Naga we're looking at. I don't know about this, John. Every time I see Naga, I get a little bit worried about the team that has picked it up. Does it incite confidence in you, John? Do you feel good looking at this draft of Lilgun now?
Not particularly. Again, it's another illusion hero. Talon doesn't have the worst wave clear, but also not the best. They've got Mars and Puck at least, and Mirana down the line, especially with her Ags pickup, can kind of deal with it somewhat. I don't know, like, normally when we see the Nagas, and this is usually when we were casting China, you'd see stuff like Disruptor, you'd see stuff like Centaur, stuff to kind of play around with the sleep, you'd see Darkseer as well. you don't have any of those combos here for Lilgun. I guess one combo they do have is like Ink Swelling an Illusion to run up, so it's kind of a carefree initiation. There's no instant burst for the illusion, no lines or anything like that, so it can kind of live a little bit longer and maybe get that Ink Swell off. Beyond that, I'm not really seeing much synergy with Naga. It can be a really early timing hero. We've seen like Yasha Diffusal be the early spike for Naga, and that's when she can rip through a lot of heroes, but Terrorblade, it's a high armor core. Like, the net is going to be annoying for something like the Puck, but in terms of just having the Naga run down the Terrorblade, once he's got a couple of items to pad out his strength, it's actually pretty hard for Naga Siren to melt him away. So I think Talon has the better core-to-core matchup as long as they can manage the illusions. And for Lilgun, I'm just not sure what to expect when they do break out in these fights. Like, what will he do with Sleep beyond just retreating? There's no real setups there. Maybe a remnant onto one, but it's not massive.
All right, well, with that, John, we will get into the game very, very soon. But before we get into the game, Jonathan, one of our favorite admins, being the Twitter admin for Dota2C underscore, just want to give a shout out, John. Apparently his mother's gone to hospital today, and just wish him to be the best. Hopefully good news comes out for him. Obviously a very sad time for the man, and let's hope for the best for our C admin. Well, we've got a couple of C admins, John, but you get my point. We've got to take care of each other.
Oh yeah, I hope all things go well for Nofu. We play a lot together, Mike. We play a lot of Labyrinth. He's a fun guy, so hopefully that ends up well. But hopefully this match goes well as well. You know, again, last match for Talon lined up here. Last real opportunity to prove a point, because everyone's had high expectations for Talon. And you know, 2 weeks ago they were all together in Thailand. They weren't out of quarantine yet. They're together in the boot camp now, and I think we have seen already some early improvements coming out from them because of that. So we'll see if that maintains. Lilgun is not an easy opponent. They did come from Div 1. They have taken some names here in Div 2 this tour, so you can't just kind of write them off here.
Gabby asking, are you Marvel? Well, what does that mean, John? Are you Marvel? Someone was called Marvel back in the day.
Yes. There
I'm
was
Ibag.
a player
What's
called
Ibag mean, John?
I have no clue anymore. And Gabby has no clue as well. So good to see everyone's in high spirits. I mean, Talon in particular have just been very noisy today. You know, KP in the lobby, Lilgun been very quiet, very calm and collected. We'll see again if Talon's hunger is actually there, Mike. Because, you know, KP, he wants to have X123, he wants to have 423 as lunch.
Absolutely. I mean, why the hell not? Talon probably having their mate earlier on. Very good to see, John. Wide awake. More day, more night for the side of Talon, that's for sure. Still Lilgun. Can't be underestimated here, Jonathan. They'll get 2 bounty runes and just walk back to their respective lanes. And we'll talk about that lanes while we have a chance, John. You're going to have Kishka there with his Spirit Breaker, along with Gabby, of course, in that POS 1 TB. They are going to be there with Fly as well on the Bane. Now, this laning stage, I think we can both agree that the pressure is probably going to be on Talon because you do have that Inkswell charge combination. Anything in particular that, say, Lilgun have to worry about here, John, in this lane?
I think you've got a lot of saves with just Fly hanging around. You've got the Nightmare to break off the charge. You've got the Nightmare to dodge off the Inkswell damage and the stun because of that 1 second vulnerability for Gabby. So if they don't target Fly, Gabby's likely to be safe. If you target Fly, then Gabby's still safe farming up. I think that's enough to enable this Terrorblade to have a good time. You see right now Talon kind of working this lane from both ends. And just having Fly cut off from the rear, Gabby just focusing on the farm, and that's just splitting their focus. They even snipe out a courier, so it's a great start.
Fly, how unlucky are you going to get here, sir? Oh, he gets bashed again! Oh, you just hate to see it! You know when you can feel it coming, John? You can feel it in your bones. The bash is coming, and very unlucky there for Fly, but they will pick up first blood for the side of Lilgun.
Yeah, they do manage to find that kill, getting some punishment out for losing their courier. It's a nice pickup. It's a very important pickup for 11 because he wasn't focusing on a creep wave, and you do kind of have to snowball in the Spirit Breaker and the Grimstroke lane. So they hit level 2. They've got the Inkswell up. They can look to maybe run up to Gabby now if Fly isn't ready, and since he's still a little ways off from level 2, it's going to be a while until Nightmare is back.
Well, apparently we can't have a look at the other lanes quite yet, John, as there is another charge to Fly out on Fly, but well, now we do have a chance, so we'll have a look at the mid lane. Of course, you've got Makoto there against Sanctity, so the Puck versus Void Spirit matchup, so far pretty even, but it is going to favor Sanctity just a little bit in terms of CS here on the Void Spirit. It can be very hard laning against the Void Spirit because he does tend to make it a bit of a trading lane. This hero does, and I'd say Void Spirit is one of the harder heroes to have to try and trade farm with.
Yeah, it's a hard one to kind of handle for the puck. We've seen Void Spirits in this lane just win out for the most part, working the CS a lot better. And for the most part, Mikado is somewhat keeping up. This is a really slow start for him. A lot of denies for Sanctity. Ramp up to 6 can really be the important point. You can maybe ask for a rotation coming in from Hyde, but without the Dream Coil, setup for the arrow is pretty hard to find. So I think Sanctity is just going to be really fine in this lane, trading hits, tanking through the right-click damage as long as this Resonant pulses up, and Mikado is just going to have to maybe get some catch-up gold, maybe look for a rotation by the time he's 6. I expect the supports will go into mid rather than mid splitting off to side lanes for the ganks here.
Certainly so. Of course, top lane as well, John. You've got 4-2-3 there on the Naga Siren along with Ace 12. Pretty calm lane so far, this top lane. Going to be there with Hyde, of course, on that Mirana. You've got KP on the Mars. So far, no real pressure being applied, though, for Lilgun. John, is there a particular timing we should be looking out for?
Yeah, I think as long as the Naga hits that Yasha Manta defusal timing, you're kind of set. And it does look like 4-2-3 will just go for Yasha into Manta rather than Yasha into defusal. So more stats to play with, more tankiness. It's a rather passive lane for the side of Lilgun. Like, Undying can be aggressive, but with your partner being a Naga, you don't really have much to play with. No value point in the ensnare means no ways to keep them down and Tombstone to get workout. At the very least, you're also not giving KP a very fast lane either. Like, KP's still stuck at 11-2. Hyde's not able to really harass 4-2-3 too much. He's just trying to snipe the camps with the arrow, so it's a slower lane for Talon. I think that hurts the arrow in tempo. Like, we heard KP, he wants to have 4-2-3 for lunch, but it's off to a slower pace. His timings are going to be slightly slower as well, and that can cause some issues here.
Oh, certainly so. 4-2-3, no pressure at all. So far, we'll see how KP tries to not necessarily recover the lane, but try to apply that pressure he was looking for, though it is rather difficult so far into the Naga Siren, as you are going to have to put up with a lot of Riptide damage. Mid lane Makoto, he's going to orb forward, just trying to avoid Sanctity here on that Void Spirit, but Sanctity can look back for some more damage. Still yet to be any more kills to fly out across the map. Because we did talk about this last time, John, but Talon, they are a team that does tend to play a bit more conservatively, though, as I say that, Gabby was being chased down on the Terror Blade, but he's going to be fine to just walk off. Fly will salve them up. But I wholeheartedly think that Lilgun are probably going to be the aggressors for quite a while in this game one.
Yeah, they've got that early tempo. They've got the Spirit Breaker, they've got the Void Spirit, they can play around it at really fast. I think that's key for them to kind of get going. They're going to go again with 11.
They are. Fly just getting double bashed, and he is probably going to die, but Kishka now falling low. Nightmare's there. Fly, he is still alive, but not for long, as they do eventually get the kill. Kishka does die, but a double bash out. How many bashes is this guy going to get? He will walk away now, John, but it's a very lucky Spirit Breaker game thus far.
Yeah, he's been getting all the bashes he needs. They do trade supports in the end, so Gabby's not going to mind too much. This lane is still under the Terrorblade's control despite all those deaths, Mike. 29-4 in the CS board. Compare that to 11 at 21-4. Your Terrorblade is going to have a good ramp up to early farm. The power treads are flying out, and at that point, you kind of feel secure. You can play in the jungle, you've got the attack speed, and Gabby can just kind of play that slow game you talked about. He can just focus on the farm, look for scaling towards the late game.
That he can. Definitely great news here for Talon. I thought there'd be more pressure being applied from Lilgun, but I suppose they have found multiple kills onto Fly, so they're probably satisfied with that, though. Mid lane, now Coil is going to fly out onto Sanctity, and he does break the Coil into the arrow. That might be his own life gone, but no. He does Astral Step away. So the raindrops did block quite a bit of that damage, and will allow him to just step away and get himself out.
A lot of commitment here from
top lane. Yeah, 4-2-3, he's rather low now. KP, who'll just keep chasing him down. Some nice, delicious food for KP if he can find it. 4-2-3, they're going to juke towards the south, and it looks like he is alright. KP, though, he has a spear, John, but he's going to be out of range.
Oh, man. TPing outside of vision as well. They do manage to find Fly in that exchange on mid. So you do find a little bit more for Lilgun once more. They force out the charge. from 11 as well, trying to catch out Mikado, so opening up that bot lane just a bit more for Gabby, but rather unfortunate for KP. They are still making moves onto Mikado, you know, pressuring the puck a little
nice
bit here.
The Remnant, a very nice Remnant out from Sanctity, but he is going to be quite low on mana now, so he won't be able to go too much further. And, you know, all things being said and done, John, Makoto, as much as he's been pressured here on this puck, he is still quite ahead in CS, so he's having a very good game.
He's managed to set himself up quite well, not really just using his levels as they came to still clear out the creep wave, to clear out the small camp, no blocks coming out there. And our puck is now just having a good time. In fact, all the cores on the side of Talon are having a great time in terms of CS. The top farm core from Lilgun is actually 11. So your Nagasarn's off to a rather slow start in comparison. Sanctity as well. One of the issues with that Void Spirit is the initial item scaling, Mike, and we always talk about it. You know, Void Spirit tends to go for, say, Yules. In this case, he is going for what seems to be a Kaya Sanj, which does take time as well. Void Spirit doesn't flash farm. He has to kind of take some of these early engagements, and the side of Lilgun has been trying to build off of it, but none of them's been flowing towards Sanctity here.
It certainly hasn't. Very tough time for the Void Spirit thus far, and that is the kind of guy that you're relying on to set the tempo for your team, but he's not having the greatest of farms so far. We'll see how they help him catch up as we are looking at Ace 12 trying to chase Hyde down, but Makoto, he's going to cut him off. Arrow, though, does not connect, so Sanctity, he'll jump in and try to help out, but Hyde, well, he's going to get caught out by the 8th Remnant, and that should mean his death. Nice little pick up there from our Void Spirit. Meanwhile, Makoto, though, he'll get another striked up into the silence now, but do they have really enough control? It doesn't really seem like as Makoto will be able to orb away, but another charge is there. Coil's going to cancel that one off as now Makoto, he'll try to turn back in onto the breaker, but more help is incoming. Fly, he'll join the fray. Makoto, he's still pretty healthy considering all that's happened, but now they'll go after Fly instead. Just go after that support Bane, and they should be able to find him. Sanctity able to pick off that kill as Makoto. He is still going as now KP's joined in. They'll find 2 supports for their trouble, or rather an offlane and a support. As Kishka is still alive on the Grimstroke, but probably not for long, as he will eventually die to Hyde on the Mirana. And in the end, it does seem to favor the side of Talon Esports.
They find a lot more. It did look a bit dicey at the start, but Lilgun kind of overextend and give Talon all the kills they need. Great kind of wrap around here from KP, going in from the top into the triangle. Lilgun does manage to drop some really aggressive wards. In fact, all their wards are really nice here on a map. Just watching the triangle, watching the river, and giving themselves openings to play around that charge. But all that time has given Gabby a really free lane bot. Like, our Terrorblade is, again, once up there in farm. He's got a very protected jungle. The side of Talon are already hunting down that Naga once more. And
they'll find him. Arrow will be a very easy setup there for Hyde. See if they can get the damage off, though. And they will. No problems here. For Talon, as they will get 4-2-3. And one thing you never want as a Naga Siren player is to have to play from behind. But it does seem like that's where 4-2-3 has to play from.
Yeah, he's going to have to eat up a lot of jungle space. They need to kind of clear out an area in the map with a lot of wards to ensure the Naga Siren stays safe. Top jungle is still supposedly relatively safe with the tier 1 still standing, but they only really watch one access point, you know. They only watch that ramp side towards Roshan, not watching the eastern side of the map, so it's still very exposed for the side of Lilgun. I think for Lilgun now, I think they've got to find a way to take this bot tier 1, open up the bot jungle, kind of protecting their triangle area as well. They've got a good amount of stacks in the large camp, a couple of stacks on the Ancients as well, so the Naga can start to clear them out. You're reaching nearly max Riptide. That's the point when the flash farm can kick in. So this is the point where Lilgun starts to play that 4 protect 1. Just ensure 4-2-3 gets the farm, give him a lane, give him a jungle, keep stalling out, keep forcing Talon to drag their own heroes to fight, and hope that your Naga builds up faster than Terrorblade.
I mean, Naga Siren is one of those kings of the split push, so you could certainly drag this game out for ages if you really want to as Lilgun. I think Talon may even allow it, considering, again, they are more conservative as a team. As Lilgun now, they'll commit for the bottom tier 1 tower. Of course, the top tier 1 was already taken by Talon, so this will be just kind of trading those objectives. That they will. There'll be no defense to come out from Talon Esports. We'll just let it go down. I think they understand that all 3 cores of theirs is just ahead right now of the 3 cores of Lilgun's. There's just no reason to try and push anything further than they have to. Hell, even the breaker up top, John, they just won't make the jump in.
Yeah, there's no pressure to make a play here. They don't really have the best vision right now in Talon, so they can't tell where everyone's at as well. And all of the vision here is really coming from Lilgun. So they're the ones who can kind of play with these aggressive wards. They haven't chosen to do so yet. They do have the charge ready. They've got the Nether Strike ready as well. The Inkswell combinations are set to go, but they just don't see the openings. And I think that's, in slowing down the pace of Lilgun a bit, you kind of want this lineup of 4 heroes to be faster than Talon's Zone 4, just because of how low their cooldowns are, how early their leveled spikes are as well. And every single time Talon doesn't give them that opening, it's a big win for Talon. They just use that space to farm. Smoke out, though. Lilgun can maybe find something big here, but it's only a 2-man here.
They're going to move their way up. I mean, they've got Fly around, and KP, he's going to cut him off as well to go after the Spirit Breaker as they do get the Fiend's Grip off, but will they have the time to get enough damage? Well, KP, he'll have a follow-up stun, and that's going to be enough. Now, Lilgun, they were trying to rotate with these supports, but it was just too late. They try to wrap around the long way, and well, now Moonlight Shadow's there, so they should be able to slowly escape, though I say that, it does wear off. But it won't matter. No, even KP's just hiding in the tree line, and they just can't really see him right now. So he will reveal himself, but again, it doesn't seem like Lilgun believe they can actually take out the Mars at the moment.
Yeah, not without the Spirit Breaker. Like, 11 is your front line, 11's your initiation right now. Mainly, you don't want to risk Sanctity jumping in and getting stunned up. So your Spirit Breaker is kind of your free initiation, and without him, your lockdown's kind of lacking. You can make a play now, but they already used their smoke. They don't have vision on their own jungle, so they're kind of lacking that information as to where to play. They've got the general idea that Talon's invading the top jungle, but nothing concrete. And that does kind of cancel out the effectiveness of those aggressive wards.
That it does. You see how confident KP is right now on this Mars, John. He'll show up at that top lane very deep, close by to the T2 tower, but just no fear in the world as now they just rotate into the mid T1 instead. Gabby will get started with the Metamorphosis. They'll force rotations in from Lilgun, but it's just hard to see them being able to defend this. In the meantime, North, they'll go on to Kishka with the arena around, and they've even got a Nightmare onto 11. Towards the south, the coil was committed, but it is completely whiffed. Not connecting on anyone. Kodo gonna miss that coil, but they might still just be able to go after that T1 tower. In fact, KP's jumped in, a great spear around, and they found another. Yeah, that'll definitely be the T1 to drop. Make that an extra tombstone on top of that. Just nothing to stop this Radiant team thus far.
They're just finding their pacing. With the blink up in KP, it becomes a lot easier to follow through with what Mikoto might want. You can make plays independent of the puck. Start splitting up the side of Lilgun. With a mid-tier 1 falling, the top jungle is definitely not safe. This is one area of the map where you can't farm if you're 4-2-3. He's still playing the bot lane here, Mike. Still playing that bot jungle, not being hunted down. We're at the point where Gabby is starting to really widen that gap. 6.4k versus 6.9, just set to escalate even more. And the side of Talon aren't sacrificing anyone else's farm for that. Like, everyone else is also farming up.
KP was having a look for 11 there, but decides better of it, but he might go back in. But they do have the Fiend's Grip as KP. Oh, he blinked in looking for that spear. He is not going to find it. So he does blink right into the charge. Very unfortunate there for KP. They are still looking though. I mean, you've got the arena back up, you've got the spear, you've got the Fiend's Grip. Hell, everything's really available apart from the Metamorphosis. But you can certainly play without that. You don't really need Gabby to join you here, so Talon, they're going to smoke up as 3. Where are they headed though? Seems though they'll try for the triangle. But never mind, they'll run straight south where Sanctity will slowly reveal himself. It'll be a big pick-off if they can find it. Does have those step charges available, but will commit one as Fly. Does have his smoke broken. Ward down, and now the Fiend's Grip. Very nice ward placement there from Fly. Arrow's completely off the mark, but it won't matter.
That happens, you know. You use your God's Rebuke, you shove someone away, even if they're pinned down by Fiend's Grip, and it doesn't line up. Still find a kill. Doesn't matter. Hyde has no hard feelings. They find a really big kill, keeping down Sanctity's Void Spirit, and that's one of the things. Again, Void Spirit, his scaling, very dependent on timing. They'll charge up, though.
Yeah, they'll try with being small, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough because they've even found the Undying towards the right side. They'll keep trying to go after Makoto, but it's just not going to work out in their favor as Ace 12, he is still trying to survive through this, and he does actually make it up for now, but KP, he's going to jump in onto Kishka. There's your Grimstroke gone, and now 11. He is really trapped up. How do you get out of this one? He will not. 3 down for the side of Lilgun as they do at least pick off Fly. But they've got no further chance at finding anyone else. They just have to leave.
They've got to go on the retreat. Big spells being used by Talon does pay off in the end. And Sanctity did respawn really fast, but he couldn't do anything without his Spirit Breaker to back him up. So they couldn't really play around that early respawn, and they get punished for, again, just overstepping slightly. They overcommit onto the Puck, who's just a very slippery hero. Their lockdown is, again, not the best. All of it's kind of avoidable, even at Phantom's Embrace. So you might need to really catch him off guard. Like, he's Shadow Blade charge has to be in around areas with no sentries. Like, Talon has been very disciplined with having the sentries at the right spots and forcing the fights there.
KB almost finds Sanctity John. The spear was on target, but the tree was not there. So nothing to latch onto. So KP's been very good with these initiations thus far this game 1, as Makoto now going to jump in, but won't bother trying for the coil. It's a 4-man coil that could have been had, but his teammates were just not close enough to capitalize, so he won't bother. Instead, it does seem like Talon is slowly setting up for the next Roshan, or rather the first Roshan of the game. And I suppose you do have to be a little bit wary of the Naga Siren, as she can just song and, you know, try to make her way in and distill the Aegis if she can, but I'd still say Talon are pretty safe to go for Rosh if they want.
Yep, they just kind of maybe need a pick off. I think ideally you'd take the top tier 2 first. Set yourself up for Roshan. Oh, the 11.
They found the Undying once again, or rather the Spirit Breaker. That'll be 11. Try to nether strike his way out of this one, but KP's going to chase him down with the arena down. And I suppose on the bright side for 11, he does force the arena. And that may allow his team to go after that mid-tier 1 tower if they so wish. But that's about all they're going to get.
They did manage to find Mikado while that was breaking up top as well.
Oh.
So, pretty decent trade coming out from Lilgun. Mikado is a higher net worth target, so they win out in that economy trade in the end, trading with heroes. Push potential here from Lilgun is a bit slow without the Nagado, so taking that mid-tier 1 is going to be a slow affair. They are dragging in 4-2-3. There's enough time for Talon to respond here. KP's already setting up for the defense.
That he is. Kingsfall will be there, but Sanctity will not find the angle. Use that actual step charge to get in range. Instead now, looks like Talon are more than interested in just trying to defend this tier 1 mid, and that they will. Not really much in the way of stopping them. But Lilgun, they are still posturing aggressively, but they are really just struggling to find a way into these fights. Even with the Spirit Breaker, it just seems very hard to actually get these fights started. And now Talon, they're the ones that have smoked up. They want to go. Who do they find? Kishka, he'll be there to break the smokes. That's one target. Not quite the one they would have liked, but they'll be forced to take it here for Talon Esports. Lilgun, well, they're just going to keep relying on the 4-2-3 to just eventually outscale everyone else on the map. He is still farming. I just question whether it's enough.
Does manage to hit a major item spike here at the least, Mike. You know, the Diffusal Blade is up, so you can kind of melt through them, drain the mana, and make it a little bit easier to manage these fights if you can get on top of someone. So we'll see if 4-2-3 will opt to kind of run in now. He's got decent stats. Again, a lot more damage with the Diffusal, some form of slow at the very least to pin someone down, and they can maybe find that opening. I think the issue for Lilgun now is they're playing very split up. Whenever they group up, they haven't been finding kills. They've had these really aggressive wards on the triangle and behind the tier 1. Just no one's playing there from Talon. They need wards in their own jungle, because that's where most of Talon spends a lot of their time in. Just playing on this opposite jungle, pressuring the tier 2, and Lilgun aren't able to make any moves into that area because they're just completely blind there.
Yeah, I just question whether they could even, again, whether they could even fight with those wards up, John. It's just a very tough time right now. And it gets worse, because Gabby's got the Eye of Skadi up now on the Terrorblade. 423 is still lagging behind. He just has not been able to catch up. Gabby? At least 11, he'll clear out the creep wave, but Gabby's not done. He'll just keep going after that tier 2 top tower to set up for the outpost and then the Roshan. It's KP, he'll have a look around for 11, but won't be able to find the Spirit Breaker. But you are in a great position now to just go Roche.
Yeah, they're set up for it. They've got control of top jungle. They are defending the bot. They don't want to trade that off in exchange just yet. And Lilgun are still holding that bot jungle, so they're not going to be able to press up. There is a charge coming through, but that's across the map. It's going to be a long time if the Spirit Breaker does want to charge in, and at that point, Mikado should be out. So no avenues for aggression yet here for the side of Lilgun. That worry still remains for the Roche though, Mike. You mentioned it, but the sleep is ready in 4-2-3, so if they do spot a Roshan happening, it can be really easy for Naga to make that work in their way. I think that's what's keeping Talon at bay. They're happy enough to just farm. They're not pressured to take the Roshan. They haven't really pierced high ground anyway. And the Roshan, the Aegis might help, but they could just focus in on the rest of the tier 2s. Tier 2 mid is likely their next target. From there, you could think about the Aegis and go.
Uh-oh. They've got Sanctity, but no, the arrow.
Ooh.
It's off the mark and it's completely mistimed. I think he was a little bit concerned there might have been a creep in front, so Sanctity will be able to walk away with his life intact. Still going to be a smoke out though from Talon. They want to keep going. Back into that dire jungle they go as the Moonlight Shadow now is going to be popped. Ace 12, he'll be the one there to break the smoke, but they can ignore him and look for more, but instead they'll make the jump in. That'll be a nice easy pick off here for Talon Esports. As, again, Lilgun, they just do not seem ready to try and contest. KP though, he's going to find a much more valuable target in the form of Sanctity. They've locked him down with the arrow follow-up, and that's going to be more than enough. I mean, if you're Lilgun, John, at some point you've got to make a move. Because Talon, they are just walking all over them.
And they've got 9k lead now. Your Naga is still somewhat keeping up within 2,000 gold, so it's not all too bad. But you're losing a lot of momentum. We talked about it earlier on, Mike, but Lilgun's 4 heroes have such early spikes, have such sensitive item timings, and it feels like they've kind of missed the mark there. We still don't have the full Ags up on Sanctity's Void Spirit. For Roche is being taken. They do know it's happening. They've got the song ready. They can play here.
They're going to try. Song is there. Roshan still not low enough. 4-2-3 though. He might just move in and scout out as in the meantime. Nether Strike was not there on Makoto's. He does phase shift. Soulbind's there, but Gabby, he's happy to man fight. We've gone to Ace 12. Sunder's out. They've got Kishka on the Grimstroke just locked down, and that'll be him gone first. But Gabby, he is falling very, very low and does need to retreat. But it won't matter because there's nobody following him, John. No one's charging him down apart from Sanctity, who does jump back in, but he's wasted all his step charges for this, and they still have the Fiend's Grip. They'll be able to catch him out as Gabby does mock him mid-Fiend's Grip, and they'll go after the Roshan.
Yeah, and that's the entire play of Lilgun gone. It looked like some decent ways of coming in. It was very split up. Their Spirit Breaker charge was onto the backline, but no follow-up. They couldn't catch Mikado out, and that meant they didn't have control for that fight in the pit. So they get punished for it. Talon does pick up the Aegis on Gabby now. He's going to be secure for the high ground. He's going to be secure for the tier 2 push into high ground as well from mid. And Lilgun are running out of options here, Mike. 12k lead for Talon. The item spikes still aren't there. The Ags is still a long ways away for Void Spirit. BKB is also surprisingly still far away for 11 as well. And without those tools, these fights just feel near impossible. Like, you've got two supports that rely mainly on the cores to make plays. Undying cannot set up for your team. You know, the Grimstroke needs a partner to set up for your team. So it's really reliant on the Spirit Breaker and Void Spirit to get more. And they just haven't. They've given all the space out for 4-2-3. The rest of the cores have fallen severely behind. And I think Talon can just kind of take advantage of that. You know, just force in the towers, go for the high ground, keep forcing out these fights. Their cooldowns are really low. It's really just arena at 90 seconds, and they can just keep running and gunning when that's up.
Middle tower is under attack.
They're gonna try it. Mid 2 Talon. They don't have the meta, but they can still move in. I mean, Gabby, he's got the butterfly up, so he is a rather hard target to take down, and he's got a lot of damage on hand. And Lilgun, all they can do is split push the bot lane at the moment. But Talon, they're going to go high ground, it seems, to just force them back. It's KP. Oh, that's a nice Yule Scepter initiation into the Arena Spear, and it looks like they've already locked him down. That'll be 11 gone for 70 seconds. the top racks. It's going to be opened up now for Talon. Lilgun, they don't really have much of a choice. They've got to try and defend this. It's very hard to see how they do it, though. I mean, you've got the song to set up, but that's all you've got.
Yep. They just don't have the follow-through. Like, if you had this Void Spirit Axe, you could maybe jump in, get the silence off, but it's just too far away. And they've already got Manta on Gabby at least to protect him. Everyone else kind of lacking some sort of BKB just yet. So there would be impact, but the timing's just off. They do at least hold on to their racks. It doesn't fall, but there's a double damage here, waiting for Gabby or Mikato to find. And once that's up, well, you can expect them to just go high ground. Mikato does pick it up for himself, so you're not going to be handing it to the Pons 1, but still opens up a lot of possibilities here for Talon. Lilgun, I don't know how you can fix this. Like, 4-2-3 has the Scotty up, going for his own butterfly, but that's not going to do anything against Gabby's butterfly. You don't have enough magic damage to pin down the Terrorblade at this point as well. You're going to have to maybe rely a bit more on the Naga Siren physical, but with a butterfly for protection with the evasion, it's cutting off a lot of that DPS, Mike.
Lilgun smoking up, trying to make their move now, but KP, he breaks the smoke and just blinks away. So no initiation again here from Lilgun. It's Talon, they might just go back in. You've got Arena back up here for KP. They won't see the target they want. So we'll leave it at that. They may just go for those outer towers instead. And Gabby, he'll just get started. I mean, bot lane, it's completely free. I doubt Lilgun will try to defend until they get to high ground. And Gabby, he should have enough time to try and use up this Aegis if they do decide to go high ground again.
Yep. It's still a minute and a half. More than enough time to at least pressure a tier 3 off the back of this tier 2 bot. He is working towards his Ags as well, so he's not going to be completely tied into Metamorphosis. He is going to at least have that Terror Wave with a 10-second Metamorphosis to help him out here soon. It's still about 1,200 gold away. And it just causes more problems for Lilgun. Their high ground hold isn't particularly amazing as well. Again, considering that you're lacking Void Spirit Ags, it's just pretty hard, although that item is sneaking up soon. So we're only about 200 gold away from Sanctity having that AoE silence. Will it be enough? It doesn't feel like it, but it does allow them to maybe pick off the Bane, pick off the Puck who has no BKB or Yules, and if you find a key kill on, say, Mikato's Puck, then that could open up the defense here.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Dire's top barracks has fallen.
Gabby, he's not going to be afraid about KP. He's going to find Ace 12. That Undying again. They'll leave him be for now. Instead, Lilgun, they're going to try and charge in after KP, but a nice Nightmare dodges out. Now the BKB to be committed. They are still trying to deal with KP, but a big Arena out now, catching 4 targets. Song is there to try and ward them back. They will try to deal with KP, but no, the Song kicks in now. They will finally deal with him, but at what cost? It'll be a 1-for-1. Aegis will expire, and that'll mean Gabby and Talon have to back off. But Kishka, he's going to buy back to try and make his move in with the team. It's Makoto. He'll jump back in as well, back in onto Ace 12. They'll get the Undying down. That'll allow them the time to go back to the racks, but no Sanctity. He's going to go right in after Gabby with the bashes out. They've got enough. They'll get the Terrorblade out of here, as now Makoto will be targeted. Very nice Nightmares to fly in from Fly, but it's just not proving to be enough. And we are finally starting to see the signs of life here from Lilgun.
Yeah, that's starting to shape up. They managed to get a very strong defense out. They did have to buy back on a couple of supports. Not the biggest buybacks to expend. They hold on to their melee racks at the very least. And that should allow them a little bit more levity up top. So they don't have to constantly respond to that shove in. Range creep being super is not the strongest way for that wave to just keep going out, although it will still slightly shove out in favor of Talon. And they hit their item spikes now, Mike. They've got the Ags up in Sanctity. The AoE silence is in play. Talon has to keep
KP, he's gone too far. He'll die straight as he respawns. Uh-oh, Lilgun finding their footing now. Game number 1, they might be able to go after a mid-tier 2 tower. Tide, he's going to get charged up by 11. He's used 2 of his leaf charges here to try and get himself out of the Aether Remnant. It's not going to connect in time, but it won't matter as Sanctity still makes the jump in, but they need more damage. The Nightmare dodges again, saving Hyde, but not for long. The charge is out once again from 11.
is under attack.
The Lilgun,
Radiant structures.
it's onto that tier 3 tower, but I don't think they'll stick around.
No, they managed to get a lot from that fight. I have to point out here as well, Mike. Gabby lost his courier in that fight. So his Ags is stalled out for a minute. If he had the Ags in that engagement on the high ground, with the Terror Wave, that might have given them enough counter control to get a safe retreat off, cut their losses, and you wouldn't have this mess on mid coming through for Talon. So Lilgun managed to find a really big opportunity there. They get the butterfly up on 423, so now Gabby's going to have a bit of an issue in pinning down the Naga Siren as well, although you do have decent magic damage coming through from everyone else. You've got the issue of your physical cores not being able to touch each other. So it's more pressure on everyone else to kill off the rest of the team. And we'll have to see who does stand out on top with that. At the least, once you have the Ags up on Gabby with a courier respawn, feels a lot better. You do have the Ags up for 11 as well. So the Ags timings are all lining up at this point. And this is where it can get a bit dicey. The charge going through magic immunity, shorter cast point, makes it much easier for 11 to keep the chase, keep setting up, keep forcing the heroes to get caught out. Talon have to be a bit cautious.
Ace 12 will be initiated on. That'll be the Undying gone as 11 now is going to charge back in and try to reinitiate, but it looks like they do have to leave. And no, never mind. Sanctity, he's going to go in.
Dire's bottom
He's unable to land the Remnant. 11 though, he was looking for another strike. Charge back in, they've got the Mars, but more importantly, they've got Cabby caught out. The Terrorblade, he can't get the Sunder off. Uh-oh, and now Makoto to drop third. That is not a good set of kills here for Talon as they're going to lose the fourth. Lilgun.
No,
are scanning.
right as I said, Mike. You know, they were they needed to play more cautiously. They need to respect these Ags timings, and they're going to lose their last hero. Hyde, can he make it out? He doesn't have leaps.
He's got one now, but it's nowhere near enough, John, and that should be high ground for Lilgun now. They should have at least one Rax taken out.
They could have more. They still have the song. They've got a lot of damage flying out from 423. If they want to really pressure, they could try to chip away at the tier 4 to just force maybe an early buyback here. They will play it safe. They are going for Rax for now. There's at least going to be a Bane and a Mars very shortly here. There's some options for Talon, but they need to execute as a team. They need to move together as a team. You gotta respect those Ags. You don't have a BKB on Gabby. He's so vulnerable in these fights. There's only so much Fly can do with a Nightmare. You can't rely on Bane to bail you out forever. And this is such a massive swing for Lilgun. From a deficit in net worth, Mike, they've got the lead. 1k, not much. But they've got 2 full racks their way, compared to Talon just taking a range racks top. This game is starting to look pretty lopsided. It's starting to swing a bit. You know, Lilgun has this opening, Mike. They are set up for the Roshan's wall. If they want to, that's Roshan number 2 with a free shard. And if they take this tier 2, tier 1, tier 2 on the top lane, Roshan opens up massively for them, and that could be the turning point.
Tower is under attack.
Charge in, 11. No, he'll cancel. It's that tier 1 top tower now to be focused down here, but Talon, they are preparing for a defense. In fact, they are just split pushing with the TB illusions.
Radiant's top tower is falling.
Into that Roshan they go. Second Roshan of the game. They don't have the shards up here for Lilgun. More importantly, of course, the Aegis. It's Talon now, the ones that have to try and find a way to fight this. They will have the arrow to scout out. Oh. Sanctity, he's there to break the smokes. Still, Roshan's getting very low in 4-2-3. He's going to go for the song out, and that's going to guarantee Rosh. No way to stop that. Now, do they keep the fight going, Talon? Well, they'll hold the high ground for a little bit, but it doesn't seem like they're feeling confident.
Alright, so this is where it gets really scary, Mike. Well, they don't actually give the shard over to... I thought they'd give the shard to 423. If they did, I don't see a situation where Talon can actually kill anyone with a song running. 5% HP per second during song's duration is a ridiculous amount of sustain, and there's not much burst damage from Talon. And there's not like big fat crits coming out from Gabby. It's not like you have the Dagon build in your puck. You can't just instantly burst someone down if you do have the BKB to ride through that song. And I think Lilgun could have set themselves up really well there. They do pass the shard onto, I believe, Sanctity instead. So the larger Dissimulate's in play. Just more mobility for the Void Spirit. They will have the Heart and the Naga soon here as well, Mike. Again, just way more stats on 423. Still no way of breaking through that evasion on the Naga, but it's starting to feel like the Naga Butterfly is being more impactful here compared to Gabby's at this point in the game. Gabby needs the BKB to really stay alive there, and then he's going to need an MKB to just pierce through. It's going to take a lot more farm to find a solution to that Naga, unless you just really focus all your spells on her. But 423's been very disciplined in when he comes into these fights. He comes in late, not first. He lets the Void Spirit, he lets the Spirit Breaker cop a lot of those initial spells, and he comes in to clean up every single time.
He does. There's Lilgun. Back into that top tier 2 how they go. Kodo. Try and slow this down, but a big charge out. 11, he's there. They've got Gabby already, but the Nightmare going to save from the Ink Swap. But is it enough, Gabby? He's still alive next to the Moonlight. Sply, he's the one to go down. KP, meanwhile, does find Kishka, and now the meta comes out. Ace 12, he's gone. They even found Sanctity. Alright, this could be a good team fight here for Talon. As 423 has run off, they'll leave 11 behind. In fact, never mind, he has not run off. 423, he'll try for the Song TP play. He's going to make it. But the rest of his team is going to drop.
Man, that is huge now for Talon. They don't manage to find the Aegis. They do defend their tier 2, preventing Mega Creeps from coming out. And they kind of break up Lilgun's fight. That's the difference with the Ags up on Gabby as well. That Terror Wave bought them enough time with the Arena drop from KP as well to just work that area control to their advantage. And Lilgun maybe getting a bit hasty, jumping the back line, immediately looking for Gabby first, without the rest of the team able to really follow through. Like, Sanctity was a bit too far in the Void Spirit to jump all the way back there. So that movement out from 11 was just a bit too deep. I think they've got to be on point with, if they jump that TB, they all need to be together for that. And if they're not, then a lot of that impact is taken off. So well, we'll see if Lilgun corrects. There is still the Aegis running on 423. There's still a couple of buybacks ready to go. So it's not the end of the world, but it has given Talon now a bit of a momentum swing back their way.
Certainly has, John, and thanks to Kishka, he has reminded me to look at the Dota Plus win percentage. Just back up the way of Lilgun at the very least for now. Still 64% their way, but it is certainly dipping back towards Talon's side of things, so we'll see how this keeps up. Still anyone's game here, but a 3k net worth advantage for Talon does stand. And a double damage rune is going to be picked up from Makoto, so this next team fight for Talon could be very, very scary for Lilgun. Mind you still have 423, who's a real tank to have to deal with. If you can lock him down long enough on the Naga, it probably won't be an issue with Gabby around, but it's easier said than done when you've got a charging Spirit Breaker every 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's just... And that's the shining point for Lilgun. If they can play around 11's charges with the Ags up, they just need to work together as a team on that point. They will smoke up, but their bot lane severely shoved in, so that should send a message to Talon. We'll see if that does end up being a success here.
I'm going to try into that triangle. KP, he'll be the around to break the smoke, and does now on Sanctity with a quick blink out. In fact, Gabby, he's going to run in on the Terror Blade. 423's already got the net out with the 11 charge. They will try to focus down the TB, but Gabby, he's a man on the run, and he will make it out. There's Lilgun still trying to press forward, but can't really find a target to lock down. It does appear the Moonlight Shadows being a little bit of a nuisance here for Lilgun. Talon still very patient on their own side of things, but in the end, Lilgun at the very least are going to be able to find a tier 2 top tower. In the meantime, Talon, they have smoked up as 4 to wrap around the backside. See who they can find, and if they can somehow pick off 11, that'd make these team fights a lot easier, but no, 423, he's going to be spotted out, but it won't matter, because the charge is already there from 11, onto KP, through the BKB, as Makoto's trying to jump in, but the song is there. In fact, never mind, they cancel. Gabby, though, he's getting right to work. 11 and KP both dropping, as Gabby, he'll get the spear off, back it onto the Naga. No, he wants Sanctity on that Void Spirit, but Sanctity, he's going to jump in back onto Gabby, and now the charge back out from 11, landing on 2, with the Nightmare gonna buy more time for the Sunder. It will come out. 423 now, the one in trouble. He is dropping lower and lower and does finally go down. But can they find him a second time? Spear is there. That'll lock him down once. Makoto, he'll follow up. Still a very tanky Naga. As 11's gonna charge right back in onto Hyde. 423, who are we targeting? Meanwhile, Gabby, he does find Ace 12, but no, 423, he needs to run. Gabby's dealing way too much damage. Another spear out will push him away, but no Sanctity. He does pick off the Terrorblade now. They've lost their carry for the side of Talon Esports. And that'll mean KP to drop second. That'll be a tieback on the Mars. And now Lilgun, they might be able to force high ground again.
That they can. Like, 423 is just way too durable. It took a lot of resources to pin down that Nog in that last fight. No buyback in the Morris means no AoE control. They have the buyback in their TB, but it's a dicey spot. You don't really want the buyback in Gabby at this point, but doesn't look like Talon's going to have a choice. This 3-man defense is just very hard to pull off here.
That it is. Try to slow it down by arrowing those siege creeps, but that all they can do is Gabby. He's going to be forced to buy back. It was a big dream core to set up, as now they'll go in with the reflection back in onto 423. That's the target they love to go after. The arrow, it does land, but 423, he's just so tanky. He won't die. He's not even dropping low. He'll turn back now as Makoto is going to go down and hide. He's been caught out by 11. They'll commit the buybacks again. They've got to protect Gabby here. And they will. It's 423, he might keep turning. Bean's Grip is there to hold him down, but where's your follow-up damage? It's not going to be Yada's Fly. He's been caught by 11 again. They'll just try and charge down the Bane. Nightmare will delay it a little bit, but not for long. That'll be Fly with a tieback. That'll be Top Rack's gone. Lilgun straight charging in with the Megas now. Back in on Gabby they go. They know if they get this kill, this game's over. Gabby, he's been caught out. He's going to drop Sanctity with a great 8 for Remnant. That's GG. That is GG out, Talon. It was such a great start for them, John, but Lilgun, they end up making a comeback.
Yeah, an insane comeback as well coming out from Lilgun. They just hit those Ags timings, Mike, and they were set to go. They pour all their resources into the Naga. The Butterfly managed to pay off. Gabby's item timings were not quite lined up. He was ahead, but the itemization didn't lend itself to counteract what Lilgun had. Like, he didn't have an early BKB. He got his own Butterfly instead of an early MKB to counteract the Naga. He got the Scotty before BKB. Like, that lack of protection early on for Gabby was a big issue. And by the time he got that BKB, the Ags timings were there for 11. So he had to charge through the BKB. They had ways of pinning down that Terrorblade straight off at the start of these fights. And that just meant Gabby couldn't really do much. I mean, his Ags came in. Eventually, that also was a turning point for Talon, but not quite enough. The fights were just lined up for Lilgun because it took so long to kill off the Naga. They were throwing everything they had, and that just allowed Sanctity and 11 angles in these fights to take control and find the key targets they needed to.
That it did, John. With that, we are going to be able to head off to game number 2 now after a very short break, and we'll see if Talon can force us to a game number 3 or whether Lilgun can take this one 2-0. We'll see you guys again very soon.